Hello everyone. At this time in our lives, we can be bombarded with so much information, so many conflicting voices. Do you ever find the need to just sit and rest a while? Well, here we have it. Tea and Tot's tea break.
Hello everyone, I hope you're doing okay. It's been a weird few weeks in terms of the weather. We've had blistering heat with loads of sunshine, and we've also had torrential rain, and in some places even flooding, and also everything in between. If you want to know what the weather is like today, when I'm recording this, it's actually quite nice and sunny outside. But it's a reminder of how life can change quickly from one thing to the next. Some days are nice and bright and sunny, and other days are harder, where it feels like rain and doom and gloom. And it reminds me of what Solomon wrote in the book of Ecclesiastes about there being a time for everything. He says there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. He does go on to say more, but I think you get the picture. There's a time and a season for everything, and often we go from one thing to the next to the next. And when life is going well, when life is going good, we're often happy and in a good place. But often it's in those hard times, in those dark times that we struggle. And often life can seem meaningless if we're going from a good thing to a bad thing to a good thing to a bad thing. And Solomon said that without God, life is meaningless. You know, that without God, life is just going from one thing to the next, without any meaning. But because God created us, He created us with a purpose, He created us with different talents and skills, we have meaning, and God gives us that meaning. And life has meaning because He created us, and He created us in His image. But then how do we cope with those hard times? How do we cope with those struggles? How do we get through them? See, one of the things that Jesus said is He prepared His disciples before He was going to be crucified that life wouldn't be easy. In fact, He told them very plainly, very clearly, that they would face persecution and hardship simply for following Him. And He did that to prepare them. And this is one of the things that Jesus says in John, at the end of John chapter 16. He says, "I've told you these things so that in me you may have peace." Jesus wanted His disciples to have peace even in the face of really hard times. Because He goes on to say, in this world you will have trouble. And that doesn't just apply to the disciples, that applies to all of us. We know in this life we have trouble. Many of us no doubt have experienced troubling times. But what Jesus says next is the most important thing for us to take away. He says, "But take heart, I have overcome the world." And that being there, a reminder that even in hard circumstances, even in trials and tribulations, Jesus has overcome the world. He has defeated every enemy, including the greatest enemy of all, which is death. And so in those hard times, in those struggles, what Jesus is trying to say is that we should look to Him, because ultimately He will bring us through those hard times, through those struggles. Because Jesus has promised that all those who trust in Him, who follow Him, will have eternal life. Jesus is the only one who can give us eternal life. And that's a life free of worry, of pain, of struggle. And ultimately a life spent eternally in His presence. So in those times when it's hard, when it's difficult, it's important to be reminded to take heart, as Jesus says, because he has overcome the world.